Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Iggy's Bodybuilding Camp. In today's video, I wanted to look at the different types of muscle fibers that we have, how they impact your physical makeup, the way that you train, the way that you look, and the genetics behind them, how you can manipulate the muscle fibers so that they cater towards your training goals. And I also wanted to look at the different rep ranges, the benefits of them, and how you can then use that information to perhaps put together a training program with the rep range and intensity that works best for you. Now what I've got on screen here is a breakdown of skeletal muscle, a bit of a cross section to give you that mind-muscle connection. You see, it's not just about what you feel, but it's also about the knowledge that you gain and understand about your body and the muscle and how it works. And you can see here, you've got a muscle, it's made up of different muscle bundles, and each of these bundles contains muscle fibers. The muscle fibers are then made up of several myofibril, and the myofibril are made up of various and many myosin and actin filaments. Now when we train, we cause damage, which is known as microtrauma, and the body, in an effort to eliminate that damage and trauma, will send a signal to start protein synthesis into the muscle. The muscle will then increase the number of actin and myosin filaments, which in turn will increase the amount of myofibril and then muscle fibers and so on, and ultimately you'll end up with bigger muscles. Basically, by strengthening the muscles, the body's effectively protected you from future damage and trauma. Okay, so let's now look at the different types of muscle fibers and their characteristics. So you have type 1, type 2A and type 2B, in this instance called type 2X. Now type 1, if you think of your muscles as a piston moving up and down, it has a slow contracting speed. It has a high capacity of utilizing oxygen. It's small in size or diameter. It has high resistance to fatigue, so it doesn't tire, and it generates slow force. There's not a lot of power behind it. Then you have type 2A. So this has a fast contracting time. It can still use oxygen quite well. It's medium in size. It's resistant moderately to getting tired. So in terms of stamina, you're looking at moderate stamina. And it generates a moderate amount of force. So power wise, it's somewhere in the middle. And then you have your final muscle fiber, which is type 2B. This has a very fast contracting time. So if you think of it as a piston, as I mentioned earlier, it's pumping at a fast rate, moving up and down quick. It's not great when it comes to using oxygen. It's large in size. It's got weak resistance to fatigue, so tires quickly, but it generates a lot of force. This leads us nicely onto the next image. So the type 1 muscle fibers are dark in color, whereas the type 2A and B are light in color. And you can see here the long distance runner has lots of type 1 muscle fibers. As I mentioned earlier, they are smaller in diameter, which means that the athlete looks quite wiry and skinny, but they are great at aerobic exercises, i.e. long distance running as an example, because these muscles are great when it comes to utilizing oxygen and they don't fatigue very quickly. Then you move on to your middle distance running, so you could call this the 400 to 800 meter runner. The muscle fibers are moderate when it comes to their size. They are also moderate when it comes to their power and fatigue and stamina. So you can see here the athlete resembles the muscle fibers that they have the majority of, which would be the type 2A muscle fibers, making them a middle distance runner. And finally you've got the athlete with the type 2B muscle fibers. These muscle fibers are thicker. They are great when it comes to power, so speed in this instance, but they aren't great when it comes to stamina, so they can only utilize that speed for a short period of time, in this instance maybe 100 to 200 meters at full force. Now, most of us are born with an equal split of fast and slow twitch muscle fibers. And with this 50-50 split, you can effectively therefore train your body to be better at one thing or another. So you can be better at aerobic, longer distance, high stamina requiring activities, endurance activities, but you can also equally train your body to be more effective when it comes to utilizing power, maximum output, but you won't be great when it comes to more stamina requiring activities. From a bodybuilding perspective, you really want to utilize both fast and slow because you want both these muscle fibers to grow. But as we know, the fast twitch muscle fibers are the thicker muscle fiber. So really most of your training should be geared towards making those grow. But if you ignore the slower twitch muscle fibers, you're not going to be getting the benefits of having them grow as well. Obviously, having all your fibers grow is the ultimate aim of hypertrophy and bodybuilding. It's worth noting that although most people fall into that 50-50 bracket of fast twitch versus slow twitch muscle fibers, you should play to your strengths. If you are somebody who is born with more fast twitch than slow or vice versa, play to the strengths. Your genetics are king when it comes to anything with relation to training and fitness and your bodybuilding goals. You can have two guys who are identical in height, weight, size, yet one guy is just way more powerful, way stronger, more explosive, and this all comes down to the fast versus slow twitch muscle fibers. Equally, you could have the same two guys and one can swim for England and the other dies after 2 lengths of the pool. So one person's pro is another person's con, and you have to really decide where your strengths lie and focus on that. When it comes to bodybuilding, you should again don't measure up to other people, measure up to yourself. That's why I say be the best version of yourself that you can be. Your training should be geared towards where you feel strongest. If you feel that going explosive and doing lots of powerlifting moves is great for you, you're strong at it, you feel good at it, and you don't get injured through it, then great, that's the way for you. If you are somebody who gets injured quicker and you're better with the higher repetition stuff, then focus on that. You can still push yourself to the limit, you can still have progressive overload, you just have to be clever about how you do it. However, the important thing to note here is that you have, whoever you are, you still have your fast twitch and your slow twitch muscle fibers, and you want to work all of those fibers. So you shouldn't just restrict yourself to a specific rep range or a specific volume of training. All of your training should be geared towards addressing the fast twitch and the slow twitch. So you want to do the heavier weight, lower repetition stuff, as well as incorporate the higher repetition, more moderate weight training. And this leads me nicely on to the last portion of the video, which is to look at the training benefits dependent on the rep range that you're working at. If the aim of the game for you is to really focus on strength, then obviously you want to work towards the lower rep range, but work closer to the percentage of your 1 rep max. If, however, it's about endurance for you, then you want to increase your rep range to above 12, 15, all the way up to 20. And you want to obviously have less weight because you won't be able to do lots of reps if your weight is really heavy. But if the aim of the game for you is bodybuilding, hypertrophy, muscle mass, then the ideal rep range, in my opinion, is that 6 to 12 range. Why? Because one, you'll be using a weight which is sufficient enough for you to really hit your slow and your fast twitch muscle fibers. As I say, regardless of who you are, you have a certain percentage of fast twitch and a certain percentage of slow, and the hypertrophy range allows you to use enough weight and do enough reps to really target both types of muscle fibers and therefore benefit from both. You know, it's critical to use a weight which is, in my opinion, above 60% of your 1 rep max. if you really want to put the muscle under enough time under tension to create some lactic acid buildup. Now, a lot of people think that lactic acid is bad, but actually it causes soreness, which is a good thing because it releases something called lactate, which results in a surge of anabolic hormone levels within the body. And these hormones are specifically human growth hormone and testosterone. And with these two hormones circulating, it creates an environment which is highly anabolic within your body, and that results in hypertrophy or muscle gain. So really and truly, if you are all about building muscle, you want to base the majority of your training around that 6 to 12 rep range, but it is also very important that you incorporate the strength and the endurance into your training if you really want to maximize all of the fibers that you have and have that fullness and growth in all of your muscles. Anyway guys, I will leave it right there. Give the video a thumbs up if you found it informative. If you enjoyed it, share the video, comment, subscribe. Keep living the life, be the best version of yourself that you can be, and I'll see you next time.